Well, would you like to be my publicist? Just when we were singing the national anthem earlier on, that guy there, Max, some of you will know him, unfortunately. He said, oh, that song's about us beating the Brits in the War of 1812. Some of us have different recollections of the War of 1812. But one thing that is for sure is that who knows what the rocket's red glare means in that national anthem? Who knows what that means? Anyone? Anyone shout it out or stick your hand up? Yeah, go on. Rockets. That's about my regiment. Because my regiment, the 12th of Foot, the British Army, in the War of 1812, actually it was in 1814 when we attacked Baltimore, we fired very, very powerful rockets into Baltimore. And the guy, I think Scott Key's the name of the guy that wrote the national anthem, is that right? Thank you for your confirmation. He was witnessing it he was on board a British ship. He was American, but I think he was involved in some negotiations on board a British warship, and he witnessed it and wrote the national anthem. So it's about me, basically. And that was just before, I wasn't in the War of 1812, but that was just before my regiment marched south and burnt down the White House. I don't like to talk about that, because it's obviously burning down a foreign government's capital is not something to be proud of, and I'm not proud of it, of course. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a real privilege and an honor and a pleasure to be here with you over the next few days. I'm really pleased to see so many, I was going to say old faces, but there aren't too many. There's a few old faces sitting around at the back. But so many familiar faces, not you, Elliot. Yeah, I can just about make you out in the dark. But also a lot of very new faces. I'm looking forward to getting to know you over the next few days. Club Z. Thank you for that. Again, for the confirmation of the correct pronunciation of your organization. Club Z is, I spend a lot of time in my life, and for many years I have, working with pro-Israeli organizations, Jewish organizations in the US, in the UK, in Europe, in Israel, in other countries. And there is no better, no more powerful, no more effective organization in the world than Club Z. I really do mean that. I've worked with many, and I've never seen such tremendously important education and action. And in the last 3 months, I've been in Israel since the war began. But I have been watching what's going on over here, and I've seen many of your activities, and I'm really, really proud to be associated with people like you who have been out on the streets fighting against the Jew hate, fighting against the anti-Israel crowd, and achieving such a lot. So for me, it's a pleasure to watch and to admire what you do, and I just encourage you to keep doing it. I just need 2 volunteers, a boy and a girl. Who wants to volunteer? Yeah, you there with the blue shirt and the strange hat. Come on. Come up on the stage. You can keep your hat on. What's your name?
I'm Nathan.
Nathan. What's your name? Am I allowed to touch you? Am I allowed to shake hands? I never know whether I can shake hands with a Jewish lady or not. Okay. You don't need to do anything. Just stand there. Okay. The reason I've asked, when I was in the British Army, and I once commanded an infantry battalion, which is about 1,000 soldiers, combat foot soldiers. Their job is to stick bayonets in the enemy's face and machine gun them and throw grenades at them. And when I was speaking to the battalion in say, a large room like this, I would always get 2 private soldiers, the most junior rank, to come up and stand with me. And the reason for that was to remind everyone in the battalion, from majors and sergeant majors, sergeants, all these different ranks, lieutenants, captains, remind them who the most important people were in the battalion, and that's the private soldiers. People like these two, the foot soldiers. Me, I'm not important. The staff here, you can agree with me. The staff, the educators, they play very critical roles, but they're not important compared to you, to the rest of you, because you are the most important people in this room, ordinary members, citizens of Club Z. Because the reason for that in the infantry, because the infantry soldier is the person that goes and does the fighting, that actually advances and attacks the enemy, sometimes gets wounded, sometimes gets killed, but is the one that does the fighting. The commanders, they also do the fighting, but they couldn't do their job without the foot soldiers, so they are the critical and most important people in the battalion. Israel is currently fighting a war on 8 fronts, 8 different fronts. Anyone tell me what they are? Stick your hand up if you know what fronts they're fighting on. Yes. What? Just one? Just one? Gaza, you got it. Anyone else? Yeah. What? Where are you from? I don't speak American. Thank you. Correct. So Gaza, Lebanon, number 3. Yeah. Yemen? Anyone else? Yeah. Iran? Not really, not Jordan. Maybe in the future. Judea and Samaria. Who said Judea? Yeah, Judea and Samaria, which some people call the West Bank. So that's 5. Yeah. Yes, Iraq. Iraq. Yeah. Syria. 7. What's the 8th? Not yet. Maybe in the future. Max. Where? The media. The media. What are you talking about? Yes. Basically, what I would describe as political warfare, which is the media, it's the United Nations, it's the International Court of Justice, the wide front. And all those different front lines are very, very important to the survival of the state of Israel. Not that that survival is in question, but if you don't fight it, it means the survival is in question. And all those different fronts are going on at the same time with different levels of intensity. One of the most important that covers everything is, as Max calls it, the media. And that's your front. That's where you come into it. That's the fight you're fighting. And it's a very, very important fight, very important for a number of things. One is the survival of the state of Israel, and the other is the defense against Jew hate, anti-Semitism, whatever you want to call it. And that's an equally important struggle, and it affects so much that's going on. You know about this a lot more than I do, being a mere goy. By the way, I know. Oh, is it Shabbat yet? So am I allowed to use this? Really? I'm making fire, aren't I? Anyway, I'm using it. Unless you tell me not to. If you're an observant Jew, then put your fingers in your ear so you can't hear it. But no, okay. Just complaining. So if anyone needs a Shabbat goy over the weekend, I'm it. Very, very reasonable prices, I can assure you. Reassuringly expensive. You heckling me. What? You heckling me. You're constantly heckling me. You're putting me off. Now, so that front, the front that you're fighting is important. I'm going to come back to that in a moment. But what I want to talk about briefly now is this war that Israel's fighting. And I'm talking about the war in Gaza now, not the other different fronts, but the war in Gaza. And it is probably the most complex, treacherous, difficult battlefield that any soldiers in history have had to fight on. It's not as intense as some. It's not like Stalingrad, if you've heard of that, one of the most famous and deathly battles of the Second World War. But it's much more complicated than that. And I'll tell you some of the reasons why it's very complicated. But before I just come on to that, I want to say to you that this front that you're fighting is it's not optional. It's not something as a Jew you can choose to do. As a Goy, I can choose to do whatever I want. But as a Jew, you've got to fight this war. Because if you don't want to fight the war wants to fight you, and it will come and find you. So you have to be ready for it. Has anyone here been in the armed forces, any armed forces of any country? Anyone been in it? Yeah? Which one? Israel? Have you been in the armed forces? Yeah. Yes, you have? Okay. Anyone else? A few others? Okay. Who's up with your hand up over there? What were you in? What were you in? Paratrooper. IDF? Okay. Mazel tov, as we say. It means congratulations. Right. Yeah. If you go, Rabbi, what do you need to do before you fight in a war? What do you got to do before you go and fight? Got to train? You've got to train. You can't. No one ever sends a soldier to fight a war without training them. Maybe they come out of high school, like pretty much everyone that joins the IDF does. They have to be trained. And you're the same. What? What's your problem? Are you drunk? Or on drugs? So you got. So we are sending you guys. We're sending all you lot to fight at university. We're sending you to fight there. You may not want to fight, but like I said, the war is going to fight you. And if you're not trained and prepared to go and do that, then how do you fight? No soldier will be able to fight if you just take him out of high school and chuck him into Gaza. What's he going to do? He's not going to know what to do, or she's not going to have a clue what to do. So they've got to be trained and prepared. And that's where Club Z really is the most important organization, in my view, in the United States of America. So I don't include you. So yeah, I know that was an insult. So going back to the complexity and sophistication of this war in Gaza. Why is it so difficult? Because Hamas have had a huge amount of time, several years. They've had maybe 15 years, maybe more if you count the whole time since they took power, to prepare the Gaza Strip for a defense. And what does that mean? It means ambush positions, sniper positions, booby traps, mines, preparing buildings, numerous things that most soldiers fighting over, they don't face the kind of fight that the IDF faces when it's in that environment with so much sophisticated preparation. And I'm talking about things like, given that there are hostages there, which adds extra complexity. No army fights, I'm not aware of any other situation where an army's had to fight with so many hostages with guns at their heads. They've got to try and find them. They've got to try and get them before they're killed. That adds immense complications to what's going on. All of these things are incredibly difficult. Can I just have the first photograph? The tunnel system under Gaza. I took this photograph a couple of weeks ago in a tunnel underneath Gaza City. This tunnel complex, I don't know if has anyone been to London? Right. You've been on the underground, the what do they call it, the subway, whatever the Americans call things. Okay, tube, whatever you want to call it. It's about 300 miles of tunnel in the London Underground. This is bigger. An underground city in Gaza. This particular tunnel, it doesn't look like it here, But this tunnel you can drive cars through, large vehicles, and have been driven through. Next picture. That's just me posing in the same tunnel. I don't look very happy. That's the tunnel entrance you can see leading up to right next to the border with Israel. So I mean, you can imagine how difficult it is fighting in these tunnels. And Israeli soldiers have to go into the tunnels for a number of reasons. One, to see if there are hostages hidden in the tunnels, and there have been hostages kept in the tunnels. Two, to try and get intelligence to help them attack the enemy. And these tunnels, they have, as you can see, they've got that pipe on the left is an air system that ventilates the whole tunnel. They've got electric lighting. In some parts, they've got railway tracks running underneath. They've got concrete walls. These are very impressive constructions. They're booby-trapped. They have machine guns positioned at key points along the tunnels, key junctions. They have blast doors, very, very heavy blast doors, which prevent the IDF from being able to, guarantee to move forward in momentum with dogs or with robots or whatever. Incredibly difficult thing to do. Next picture. That's me again posing. I love showing pictures of myself. I apologize for the sunglasses. I do look cool, thank you. Here or there? Both. I'll speak to you later on. So this is an average young soldier inside Gaza. This is Shujaa, I think they call it, it's how it's pronounced, one of the strongholds in Gaza. And an extremely brave young man. He was caught in an ambush not long before I was talking to him there. He brushed himself down, carried on, and as you can see, he's got I think he finds me amusing, I'm not sure. But that's an average sort of Israeli soldier. Very, very courageous, fighting very hard. Probably not long out of high school himself, not much older than some of you, probably younger than others of you. Next picture. I took this picture. This is again inside Gaza, and it's a place called Al Barej, which is again one of the Hamas strongholds. The guy on the left is an IDF general. That in fact, all three of them are IDF generals. The one on the right is the commander of an IDF division. The one on the left is a deputy commander of Southern Command, and the one in the middle is the commander of the Golani Brigade, which is an infantry brigade fighting in Gaza. The reason I show you this picture, and outside, while this is a conference, there's a number of other people around, and outside there's machine gun fire, there's artillery fire, rocket fire, missile fire of all sorts. So they're operating very close to where the fighting's taking place. They're among the fighting. And in this conversation that they're having, which was in Hebrew, but and I don't speak any Hebrew, I barely speak English, but someone was whispering in my ear what was being said. And these guys were spending a long time discussing how to carry out an attack on a particular location inside Gaza against terrorists, when next door to the place where the terrorists were was a refugee. It was a school that was being used for refugees. And they were trying to figure out how we're going to get these terrorists without killing everyone in the school. Very difficult. And the reason I wanted to show you that is because all the lies you hear in the media about how, and in the United Nations, the International Court of Justice, about how Israel is indiscriminate, doesn't care, is committing genocide, wants to deliberately kill civilians. These three men sitting here are discussing in great detail how to stop that happening. Next slide. Me posing again. I look like a model, yeah. Not sure. A model of what, I'm not sure. I look great. Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to come here more often. The guy, is that you, Masha? The guy on the right, his name is General Itai Virov. He retired. I went to his retirement ceremony near Tel Aviv about 5 or 6 months ago. Retired from the army. On the 7th of October, he's a civilian. He got a rifle from somewhere. He got in his car. He drove down to Kibbutz Be'eri and Kfar Aza. And he spent 2 days fighting with another guy that he picked up on the way, fighting terrorists and killing terrorists in Kfar Aza and Berry. As you can see, he's an old man. He's nearly as old as me. But he was fighting for 2 days solid, without rest, without respite. He took a grenade wound in the leg, patched himself up, carried on fighting. The guy on the left, that's General Yossi Bahar. He's the deputy commander of Southern Command, who was also in the last photograph. He lives in kibbutz. Is that a signal I've got to shut up? Keep going? Okay. So anyway, this guy lives in kibbutz Berry. In the morning, at whatever time it was when they attacked kibbutz Berry, he got out of bed, put his uniform on. He was just about to retire. As you can see, he's another very old man. He spent, again, 2 days in Berry fighting with that same rifle, fighting around the kibbutz, killing terrorists together with 2 or 3 other people. 2 whole days doing that. His mother was killed in kibbutz Berry. His nephew was killed. One of his nephews was killed in Berry while he was fighting, and his other nephew was kidnapped and is still in captivity. So these are the kind of people that are in the IDF, that are currently, these two, directing operations inside Gaza now. Next picture. That's me posing again. This guy, he's about 19, I think. He got shot in the lower part of his leg, he got shot with an RPG, which is an anti-tank missile. The same leg he got shot with an AK-47 7.62 bullet. He got shot in the chest, and his flak jacket saved his life. He got shot in the head, all at the same time. And he showed me a picture of his helmet with a bullet that had gone through the helmet, and just the tip of it had just come and cut his head. Those helmets are not supposed to stop bullets, but this one did. So this guy has been shot 4 times, all pretty much at the same time. When I was talking to him there, he's a paratrooper, like yourself, Rabbi. I was talking to him. He wanted nothing more than to get back into Gaza. That's what he wanted to do. That's all he wanted to do, get back and rejoin his mates in Gaza. Tremendous courage. Now you guys think your fight is hard, and it is hard. There's no doubt. It's a tough fight. You've got a lot of enemies here, and they're defending a rock-solid narrative that Israel is illegitimate, Israel is stolen Arab land, Israel is apartheid, Israel is occupiers, Israel is genociders. You name the great long list. It's a tough fight. These people have had this fed into their thick heads for decades and decades and decades, and sometimes not so thick heads, but it's gone in anyway. But it's not as tough as the fight these guys are fighting, because your fight will result, these guys, if they get it wrong, and they quite often do get it wrong, because that's the nature of war, and you just think about the 3 hostages that were killed by IDF soldiers. I'm sure you've seen that. I can talk maybe at some other time about how that happened and the ins and outs of it. I've been involved in that same situation where my soldiers have shot other soldiers from my own unit. It happens in war. It's terrible. It's tragic. It's the worst thing, but it happens. And it happens in the chaotic situation you have in Gaza with all the different complexities I mentioned. So their fight is, let's say, a bit tougher than our fight. But that doesn't mean our fight is not tough. But it means we have to be, I would say we have to be courageous in our fight. What do we face? We face some idiot ridiculing us, or maybe painting a swastika on our door or desk or something like that. Horrible, horrible things. We face being excluded from some stupid social media group or whatever. Now, you don't want that to happen, because you've got friends, you want to make friends and all the rest of it, but it's not the end of the world. My name was found on an Al-Qaeda death list a few years ago. in Syria. That was one of the proudest accomplishments of my life. What's this? Snapping, thank you. I enjoy being snapped. Both my daughters snap at me all the time. I don't care about that. I know I'm a very, very old, fat, grey-haired man, but I've got also thick skin, and I think you need to have thick skin. And one of the most frequent expressions in the Bible, I'm not a rabbi, but you can correct me if I'm wrong here, I'm sure you will, is be not afraid. So I'd say to you, be not afraid. It's easy to say. It's also, I think, if you put your mind to it and if you can find inner courage, it's relatively easy to do. I'm just going to finish off now with 3 rules for you. These are very important rules, which I insist you adhere to. I've no idea how I'm going to enforce this, but these are the rules. 1, do not say ever that Israel has a right to exist or has a right to defend itself. Never say that. How many times has anyone said, Ukraine has a right to defend itself against the Russians? How many times were people saying in the Second World War, Britain has a right to defend? No one says that. It's only about Israel people say that. They have a right to defend themselves, meaning what it really means is they don't really have that right. But I'm going to say that to appear nice. So don't say it. Do not say Israel has a right to defend itself. You could say Israel has a duty to defend itself, which it does, and the Israeli government has a duty, and the IDF has a duty to protect the citizens. The second thing, do not say, I feel unsafe. I need a safe space. Don't say that crap. It's not... You don't feel unsafe. What's that mean? What's it mean? If you're that guy in Gaza or Berry or whatever, and he's got shells coming down and bullets coming, then he may feel a bit unsafe, maybe. But he's got his flak jacket, got his helmet, so he can get on with it. So don't say that. Let the anti-Semites say they feel unsafe. In fact, make them feel unsafe. And the final thing is what Marsha mentioned at the beginning and what's written on here. Here I am, here we are. And what that means, it's what, she didn't use this example, but I'm going to use this example from the Bible. Again, correct me if I'm wrong, Rabbi. When God wanted to send messenger to the people to correct themselves and to spread the word of Judaism, he said, who can we send, who can go for us? Words like that. And Isaiah said, here I am, send me. And that's what you should do. Whenever there's a difficult job to be done, whenever there's a challenging task to achieve in fighting against anti-Semitism, in fighting for Israel, in fighting for your family, for your fellow Jews, for your country, then here I am, send me. I will do it. Go put yourself forward. Don't be afraid and fight this fight. Because I'll tell you one thing just before I do finish, and Philip's standing over there waiting for me to go off the stage because I've spoken for far too long already. I do love the sound of my own voice. What you're doing here, it's not just important to defend your family, your friends, your fellow Jews. It's also phenomenally important in defending Israel. I spent a lot of time in the last 3 months talking to IDF soldiers in Gaza, on the borders of Gaza, on the border of Lebanon, all around the place. And one thing that a lot of them were very interested in was what the world thinks, what the world's doing. You know, because everyone wants some kind of approval. They don't necessarily need it, but they are looking for it to an extent. And if they know, and I was telling a lot of these soldiers about what you guys are doing, and showing them pictures that I've got from your from social media, etc., and from the internet posts you put out, and it's an incredible morale boost to them. It's like, you know, you can send schools in England, and I'm sure over here as well, they send soldiers cards and letters and presents and all the rest of it. real boost for morale to know that people thousands of miles away actually care a damn about what you're doing when you're putting your life on the line. And that there are kids like you, sorry, you're not allowed, am I allowed to call you kids or young adults, whatever you are? There are people like you who are prepared to take risks, to stop doing what you might enjoy doing and go out and fight the fight. And that's tremendously important for these young soldiers fighting for their lives inside Gaza. So every time you think, this might be a bit difficult, going on that demonstration might be a bit difficult, complaining about this to the school authorities might be, think about how much of a morale boost it is for them, apart from anything else. Thank you very much indeed, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.